All right, we're 1 minute after. I'm just going to give it a few more minutes.
Yeah.
People on the U.S. East Coast are just starting lunch. People on the West Coast in the U.S. are just crawling into the office and pouring coffee. So we'll give everybody a few minutes to get sorted. See how things turned out.
Sure.
For the last few people that joined, we're just waiting for a few more people to join. I'll give it about another 2 or 3 minutes. Please, if you haven't already, mute your camera and your microphone, and we'll get started as soon as possible. This meeting is being recorded for your information and future posterity. Okay, I think we'll get started. I think there's a few people that'll probably join a little bit later, but we've got quite a few people on the call already, and it is being recorded. So I'll get started, and if anybody joins late, they can watch the recording. For people that haven't met me yet, my name's Tom Mears. I'm one of the co-founders of KumoMTA. Now it's all out official, and now we've met. So nice to meet you. Today's roundtable is with Stein from Laposta, Willem and Eva Marie from Postmastery will join us and have a conversation about how the journey from Postfix to KumoMTA came about and the experience of doing that for Laposta. I'm going to just facilitate and have people ask questions, but primarily it'll be a conversation that just talks about that journey and what they went through to do that. So I'll turn this over to Willem, Eva Marie, and Stein for you can introduce yourselves, give us a little background as to the company and what you do there, and we'll move on from there. So Willem, did you want to start?
Yeah, sure. My name is Willem Stam, one of the co-founders of Postmastery. Working in the delivery, mainly focusing on email infrastructure and deliverability. Do a lot of projects in that area. And one of the projects we did recently was a project for Stein and his team at Laposta.
Fantastic. Thank you. Eva Marie?
Yes, Eva Marie, deliverability engineer for Postmastery. I'm working there since a bit more than 3 years, and previously I was working for a French company called CCM Benchmark, which is a website editor running his own email infrastructure, and I'm working in the email industry since globally 15 to 17 years. I don't remember exactly.
It all blurs, doesn't it?
I mean, I'm getting old for the email industry.
Fair enough. Well, we don't even want to get
post retirement.
Stein, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Maybe tell us a little about yourself and Laposta.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Stein van der Rey from Laposta. You can say Laposta if it's for English speakers. And we're an ESP in the Netherlands with a lot of non-profit and clients in government. A lot of municipals and provinces are using our program. And we've been on the market about more than 10 years, I think. And we were always using Postfix for delivering the mails. And then I came into contact with Willem and Postmastery. And, like Willem said, we started a trajectory to move away from Postfix. And we choose KumoMTA. So that's what we're using now.
That is fantastic. Let's dive right into that. Thank you for that introduction. Let's dive right into how that all came about. Was this something that you've been working on for some time, or how did that whole conversation start? From why move from Postfix?
Yeah, well, we set up Postfix in the beginning because it was the most obvious choice then. But in the last few years, we realized we didn't have much insight in how Postfix was functioning. And also the configuration was very difficult because we had a lot of instances with a lot of configuration files. And then I came into contact with Willem, and and we were talking about the setup and different possibilities. And he introduced me to a couple of alternatives for Postfix, like a PowerMTA or a Green Arrow, and Kumo was one of them. And we looked into them and ultimately selected KumoMTA.
Well, that's fantastic. Can we go into some of the conversation about like why that actually made sense to you to look at Kumo instead of some of the others that were on the market?
Yeah, well, it was an open source product, so that's what we really liked about it. Of course, cost is nice, but it's even more about the possibility to handle it yourself if something goes wrong with the company. Or they stop, or you have control of the system. You don't have to change a lot of things when something happens to a company. So that was one of the key elements. And also looking at the system itself and the people who are building it, we had a good feeling about it. A lot of energy was coming from the website and the project.
Oh, that's fantastic news.
Yeah.
So can we talk a little about the journey, the whole beginning of this? Like, obviously you connected at some point. I think probably in the spring. What did that look like?
Yeah, shall I say maybe kick off? Yeah. What we always do when we start with the sender is to do a kind of assessment to see how they're working, what they do, and we start to collect data in terms of bounces, deferrals, all kinds of intelligence. And that was also the start with collaboration with Laposta to just collect data and review the system. Yeah, and based on what we saw and based on the discussion, there was a report with our findings and recommendations. Yeah, one of the recommendations was to maybe consider another MTA. And that's, at the end, what Stijn mentioned, that at the end it resulted in a kind of selection process, and Kumo was the choice. And then, then basically a kind of migration project started to move from Postfix to Kumo. Yeah.
Well, if I can just complete. So as William said, we started with the delivery assessment because just telling, let's move to one MTA to another, that is not possible. Even just say, let's upgrade your current MTA, that we need to have a look at it. We need to understand what's going on. How is it working exactly? What is the exact infrastructure? That's great to say, let's upgrade, but you don't know. And for example, for Stijn, at Laposta, they were working on 3 VMs. And each VM was containing several Postfix instances because Postfix was installed as a multi-instance system. So globally, just telling you need to upgrade the Postfix version. That means not upgrading one Postfix, but hundreds of Postfix because each Postfix was one IP. And that's in terms of IT, this is a huge complexity. You need to maintain the OS for each VM. Then you need to align all versions of all Postfix, and you can use some elements like Ansible. But when you need to ensure that the hundreds of Postfix have been updated as it should, that become kind of a complexity that could generate some headaches to any excellent sysadmin guy. And yeah, when we look at that, and the need from Stijn was outgoing messages. That's the thing, because if one of the major issues would have been ingoing, that could change the MTA choice. Here, that was exclusively outgoing messages, having more visibility, having more elements. So yeah, and I mean, you got one ESP that has a real IT team, who knows their server, etc. So that was easy and quite natural to select any other open source MTA and select Kumo to this. I mean, just in terms of infrastructure, you move from 3 VMs, hundreds of instances, to 2 VMs and 2 instances.
That's significant.
I mean, this is just extreme time saving and cost saving, but just for the IT part. I'm not even speaking about anything else. It's just about hosting, maintenance, etc. Just basic cost anyone should have, will have with this email infrastructure.
Yeah, we talk quite a lot about reducing footprint size, server spread and footprint size, being able to consolidate. But even with VMs on just a few nodes and several different instances, it causes a lot of complication when you have to go and update those or modify them, make changes. Right?
Yeah. So, and I mean, and the idea was also to work on something. I mean, he was using Postfix for a long time, for a long period. I mean, for Laposta's stories globally, but yeah, the idea was when you do MTA migration for someone, you don't want him to be. You want him to be able to just plug in the new MTA, and that's okay. And here that was the case. We managed to find a way, so Laposta didn't need to do any changes to his current infrastructure. We just that's how we started the migration. That was really a one-on-one migration.
Yeah.
Replicating everything to Kumo to have the exact same behavior, etc., but replacing tens, hundreds of instances with just one instance.
Yes. And I think we could have done with 1 VM, but we only choose 2 because it's easy to have another one available when, for example, you need to upgrade. But for just for performance, I think 1 VM we know.
Yeah, the other one is mostly there for redundancy and
redundancy. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's great to know.
And that was interesting to do. And honestly, when we started, we have to look at what is specific to the current infrastructure. And for example, I mean, many people are using Open DKIM to send the DKIM the messages with Postfix. But generally, you get some key files. And Notstein, he was using a MySQL database, which is still using, by the way. And yeah, we had to replicate that feature to Kumo. And Kumo has no link with MySQL.
Right.
You got connectors to scale it, but no MySQL. So we had to run some way to import the database to escalate, and then not using the classic DKIM helper, but use the DKIM feature to be able to query that database and generate the key based on the sending domain, etc. And yeah, we were really able to replicate everything. I mean, at the end, this is just Lua scripting.
That's fantastic.
So
fantastic.
Yeah.
It sounds like quite a complicated process. You're talking about hundreds of VMs, adding a database connector, and writing custom Lua to do your DKIM signing for those. Like how long was this project?
Globally, to do the first VM, and because we made the migration in globally 4 phases. The first one was having a Kumo instance with 1 IP, replicating the exact same behavior. So the second one was migrating several IPs to 1 Kumo and optimizing performances. Then that was adding the new Kumo features to ensure that we have some new elements and we are using the features. So managing deliverability, throttling, I mean, traffic shaping globally and traffic shaping automation, even with MX is, I mean, all that part. And then that was a VM, so that was extremely easy. Stein did that part. He just had to duplicate the VM. We changed 1 or 2 parameters, we moved the IPs, and that's done.
That's great.
And we even had some new features that were not in Postfix at the beginning. Because I mean, that's the case for every ESP. You send to some domains, misspelling domains, etc. And here we created a suppression list, so only based on domains, and that was really easy to do and to replicate from one Kumo to another. And globally, the whole migration, so from starting the organization of the migration to shutting down the last postfix, it took globally a month and a half.
Wow, 6 weeks. That's impressive. That's impressive work.
With optimization, I mean, we moved from hundreds IPs to 8. So it has also a lot of impact on deliverability, optimization, etc. On the IP and domain reputation, we have many elements through the line. I mean, adding a double DKIM signature for some feedback loops, adding DKIM over signing, etc. So we made a lot of things on the way.
Yeah.
I mean, so in a month and a half, we shut down all postfixes, but also added a lot of new features.
That is very impressive. I just want to, for the audience, I just want to make a clarification here. The KumoMTA team wasn't directly involved in this whole migration. This was entirely Laposta and Postmastery working on this entire project. So it's just kind of shows the ability that you can read the documentation, you could pull the product and do the implementation. You got a super skilled engineer. You can write all kinds of magic to make it work. That's fantastic. So I'd love to find out what you find now. That all went relatively quickly, as far as I'm concerned. 6 weeks is a fantastic migration. Is there anything you miss from Postmastery? From Postfix? Is there anything that you couldn't move into KumoMTA that you would have preferred to have kept on using?
On my side, not anything I'm aware of. So
fantastic.
You even got a brand new webhook to receive complaints and bounces. So.
Yeah, that's easier too. Yeah. And even we also implemented some deferral tactics based on campaigns
what you are not having at all with the postfix. I mean, postfix it takes a message and it tries to deliver it. But globally, that's how it works. And here we use some bounce rewrite feature. So, for example, that's something we do with all our customers. Mailbox full at Google, I mean, just read the message. That's a 15 gigabytes mailbox. The user can't even send a single message. So we know that in that case, that's a nonsense to try to just retry and retry and retry again. So we apply some bounce. And yeah, at the end, it helps for the reputation and being able to speed up delivery.
Fantastic.
Yeah. We saw a speed bump of about 2 to 3 times compared to Postfix for delivery. It's leaner.
I'd love to dive into one other question here, but I want to just remind the audience, people that are listening, that we'll open the floor to questions in a few minutes. So if you've got any questions about what this migration looked like, then I'll open the floor in just a couple of minutes. I'd love to touch a little bit on some of the operational issues. So, the migration was fantastic. There were a lot of VMs or postfix instances to deal with before. There was a lot of management going on. How do you find the day-to-day operational logistics now? Have you found that it's easier or the same as it was before, as far as maintaining the systems on a day-to-day basis?
Well, for us, it's less work now. Of course, we have to maintain the VM, just apply the operating system patches. And Postmastery is helping us with the Kumo tweaks. So I think that will continue the coming months to just optimize a little further. But we don't have any work with it.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, one thing as well as to that's great to implement some new features, or for example, during the whole migration process, we were using the Postmastery console because we got to monitor the logs and see what's going on, because that's great to speed up delivery, but sometimes it generates some issues as well. And here that was not the case, but yeah, also we were looking at optimizing resources. So how exactly that's great to use the webhook, but since I think that from a year ago globally, you can use batch webhook. You can use batches.
Yeah.
And as well, there's a difference of logging something coming from the headers or coming from the meta. And in terms of resources, when you get a large volume, it could have a very huge impact. So that's important to really look at performances, because the idea is not only to do a migration. Just doing a migration for migration, it's kind of a nonsense.
Right.
Here, the idea is also to create some scalability. And I mean, now there are room for new volumes.
Right.
That's the thing. I mean, for less resources, you can do more. So, I mean, in any way, this is time saver, cost saver, and I mean, also I would say environmental saver. You're using less machines, so less carbon, etc. So no, that's great in every senses.
That is fantastic to hear. I'm gonna have to figure out how to fit all that on a t-shirt. Use Kumo, save the world. I like that. Fantastic. You had mentioned that as far as resource management and being able to minimize things, you had also mentioned the integration to MySQL, which is brilliant, by the way. Were there other integrations that you had to make or could make, you're thinking about in the future? Like, are there things that you think could help optimize because of integrations that you maybe weren't able to do before?
I discussed that with Stein, and my idea I was having in mind is, I mean, we have created a suppression list.
Right.
And the idea was to have a dynamic suppression list shared between each Kumos. The idea is that based on the logs, then adding the address into a suppression list with the date, and that way you say, okay, when that's a mailbox full, I will put that automatically for, let's say, a month or 6 months or whatever. But that way you ensure that if that address is really off, you won't try to send on it again and again. And that could preserve reputation for the global ESP, for each sender of the ESP. And also, some address at any moment could become some spam trap.
Right.
That will protect from eating any spam trap. I mean, I know some companies using their own NT infrastructure, using any solution like Office 365 or Proofpoint or some Cisco server to protect their infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And each time someone is leaving the company, yeah, they're providing the address to the guy that is coming after to just tell to everyone, no, he left the company, now that's me, etc. But after 6 months, that is becoming a spam trap. So, I mean, there's not only huge spam filters having their own network.
Yeah.
Each B2B company having its own server and its own infrastructure could be its own filter as well.
Right. Interesting.
So, and yeah, having something dynamic, that's something we don't have in any other NTA. And if you, I mean, that's scripting, so you can apply your own rules.
I love that. I love that. That one's definitely going on t-shirt. Okay, thank you. I think at this point, I would love to open the floor to our audience. If anybody has any questions, if you just want to raise your hand or unmute and ask, I'm happy to open the floor to anybody that has any other questions on how this all worked out.
It was crystal clear, I think, Tom.
What's that?
No, I think it was crystal clear. So
I think so. Yeah.
yeah.
It was. I love the description, and I love that that you were able to get there so quickly. 6 weeks is a fantastic conversion, and the fact that you were able to write the integrations that you needed using Lua to basically minimize the impact of external systems and speed up things is super huge.
Yeah, to be able to do such a fast migration, there was something extremely important. Laposta owns these IPs.
Right.
So you don't have to warm up some new IPs on your domain, etc. You just move the IPs. So you're just keeping that reputation, and it makes. I mean, when you have no warm up, that's easy, way easier. I mean, and the first thing, and the second thing is commitment. Yet, I mean, I've seen customers who want to do a quick migration because they need to add the new MTA for yesterday, especially, but they're not responding. And here, each time that was a pleasure to work with Stein, because each time you need to ask for something, you have a quick answer. And not only a quick answer, but you just say, okay, now move some more IPs to Kumo. Yeah, that's not just an answer, that's done. So
I think that's the Dutch attitude, usually.
I'm not Dutch, I'm French.
Okay.
I had the same experience with email, so it's always quick. It's quite, But I think maybe it's nice to mention that it all started with just replicating the exact setup with IPs, so you can compare it to the two setups. And only after this original setup was replicated, Yves-Marie started with optimizations. So you have to first replicate before you can do some optimizations.
Yeah, and now that's mostly long tail optimization, like being able to work on some edge cases, like what we had recently with the sender. For one domain, we needed to raise the value of the max ready queue.
Of the max?
The max ready queue, you remember, that was all internal defaults because the ready queue was full. So we had to raise that, and but that's one edge case. If you don't see that, you don't need it. And now that's really what we need to do every day, just working on these cases.
Nice. Stein, I know that we talked about being able to minimize workload and the fast migration. There's actually been several really good things that sound like it come out of here. Is there any one thing that you would point at as, I kind of like to go both ways? What would be your biggest benefit, the biggest thing you've impact for your business that you've seen moving from Postfix to KumoMTA? I'd like to hear what the biggest impact is, like what's really helped you, but I'd also like to hear if there were any challenges that you came up against that were maybe hurdles that people should watch out for.
I was very glad to have said goodbye to the difficult Postfix configurations and maintenance. It was a pleasure to shut down the last instance.
Okay, I'm glad I could help you with that experience.
Yeah, it's clear. Yeah. And more future-proof.
Good. Okay.
On my side, the most challenging part was ensure that everything will be done at the NTA level, and that Stein does not have to do some new development on his software part.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, the change on the software side was very small because we have some round robin system to assign them the mails that have to be sent to the different IPs. And for Postfix, we were using a lot of IPs, so we had a lot of IPs in the round robin system. But for Kumo, you just need the one IP of the VM. And then Kumo itself round robins the mails from the different IPs available in the Kumo instance. So that was a small difference. We had to shrink the pool to just 2 IPs to send the mails to, but it was easy. Yeah,
That's really big.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one thing I didn't ask earlier was, are you using the proxy server as an outbound public face for your IPs, or it's just coming off those IPs?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
The idea of having 2 VMs, I mean, Stein is using several /24. So we got 4 IPs from one range on Kumo 1 and 4 IPs from another range on Kumo 2. I mean, at any moment, for any reason, we see that quite often in deliverability. You don't know why. You got 4 IPs in a shared pool, and one single IP is having issues.
Right.
Yeah, just that one. You don't know why. That's the exact same traffic. Globally, yeah, different recipient because the recipient are split between the different IPs. But sometimes one could have a problem, and that could be the same with the range. For some reason, a range could have a lowest reputation than the other, etc. And so the idea was just, okay, keep each VM separately, because if we got issue with one range, we can just remove the complete range immediately from the round robin by removing one VM. If you don't do that, you need to remove each IP one by one, and that's not the same job. And that one takes hours, but that's a bit more effort.
Right. Okay. I'm going to ask one more time. If anybody in the audience has any questions, you should have a hand icon. You can raise your hand. If not, I think you can unmute or drop a message in the chat, and I can unmute you manually. Just give this a minute. People are interested. All right. Okay. I have one more question before we work through a wrap up, and we can do some final comments. We don't have to use the entire hour that we've blocked off. I think this has been a super productive conversation. I would love to ask if Stein in particular, if you would recommend other Postfix users to consider looking at KumoMTA, or if there's a range, if you're doing one Postfix, maybe it doesn't matter, but clearly you had hundreds of implementations. Is this something you would recommend to Postfix users?
Yes, sure. Yes, it's a lot cleaner and easier.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. What we can wrap up here. I'll leave this for closing comments. If Stein, you're willing, maybe if you have any closing comments on what you'd like to say about the implementation and the work and Kumo, I'll let you fly at her.
Just one comment about Kumo is that people need to understand, because you can do what you want with scripting, and globally you get 2-3 major updates per year. But Kumo is, if you compare Kumo to Postfix or any other commercial MTA, Kumo is a really young tool. And people need to know that, because many people are afraid by Kumo because that's a young tool. We don't know how it works. We don't really have some enough feedbacks, etc. And you can just be confident. That's an open source tool. You can test. What we did with Stein, just replicate the exact configuration. So you just be able to compare in terms of resources. And then you can take any decision.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
And it has to fit your needs. That's extremely important.
Right.
Yes.
That was great. Stein?
Yeah, I think it's great. You started developing this. For us, it came just at the right time. Otherwise, we would have chosen another commercial product, I think. So for us, it's great.
Timing is everything. Glad we could help. Willem, we'll close off with you. Do you have any other comments that you'd like to add?
Yeah, no, I think it was a great project. Thanks for the collaboration also with your team, Tom, and of course Stan and his team. It was great to working together. And it's great to continue working together in terms of tuning the MTA, in terms of the monitoring via the Postmastery console. So looking forward to the future as well, Stan.
Yeah, me too.
In the combination in this time with Kumo. Yeah, great. Yeah.
Fantastic. Stein, I want to thank you very much for choosing Kumo and coming onto the roundtable with us, sharing your journey. That super appreciative of taking your time to share your story. Marie, Willem, the Postmastery team has been fantastic to work with. You guys are great partners. Happy to recommend you anytime to any of our customers that are looking for some help. I really appreciate it. All right, I will close this up, and the recording will be available at some time in the future. And I absolutely appreciate all of your investment in KumoMTA. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thanks.